So some of the things that have been enhanced with this new rollout of professional search, first and foremost is mapping. Find originally had some great maps and some great overlays that were in there. We used to run on Bing Maps, but slowly but surely Microsoft kept changing things, and a lot of our overlays and plugins and things that made the mapping great ceased to function. So mapping is not that great in Find right now. However, by tomorrow when professional search goes online, you're going to notice a whole new set of tools that are available in there. For starters, we have lots and lots of school information. You can search by catchment areas. We have school ratings in here from both parental ratings as well as grade schools. And I'll show you that when we get in there. You can actually search by those catchment areas or search even by school name, and the system will pull it up for you. We also have crime heat maps in there, so if you want to be able to look at different areas using heat maps, you can do that. We also have a new partnership that Realtor.com established last year with Yelp. And so that has worked its way over into professional search as well. When you go in here and you pull up some of the lifestyle information, all of the different things you can search for on here are actually powered by the Yelp information. So as you pull them up, if you actually click on the little blue name of the business, it'll actually pull up their Yelp profile and all their Yelp reviews. So we know, especially moving forward, our millennial audience out there especially really likes lifestyle information along with the property, because it's not just about the property, it's about what it's going to be like to live there and what they get to experience. Yes?
Quick question. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I sell real estate here as well as in Atlanta. Most of my folk live here, but I moved to Atlanta 14 years ago and got my real estate license there.
Okay.
We use different platforms, and being that I'm new to New York in terms of the real estate market, where do I find the professional search for Realtor.com, and how do I actually utilize that in my everyday?
Actually, it's going to come in very handy working in two markets, because you can be in either market and get into here and look at the research. Are you a member of either FMLS or Georgia MLS?
Both.
Both? Okay. Professional search is actually live in both of those. So you can access it when you're in that MLS to search anywhere in the country, or in this one. So you'll have access to it in both places.
So how do I access it in the New York platform?
I'm going to get to that here in just a minute.
Through state?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you right where the links are, and then if you want, after class, I can probably show you where they're at in your other MLSs as well.
All right, cool.
Okay. All right, so we got the map overlays on local amenities. We also have, now that we're plugged into Google, we get all the wonderful Google Transit information. Actually, we'll show you live traffic as well as public transit and bike lanes, depending on what your consumer is looking for, or your customer. We also have a new commute calculator. This is actually plugged into Google as well, and it's one of the new very popular features out on our main site. Right under, when you're looking at a property details page, right under the picture, and I'll show you when we're in there, there's a little commute time link you click on. And what it does is it opens up an address box, and you can add the address of your customer's work, and it'll actually calculate the actual commute time from that property to work, both in high traffic and low traffic times. So you can actually give them a nice idea of exactly what their commute times are going to be. And that's by car, walking, bike, public transit, doesn't matter. So it works just about everywhere. We've also got some new things built down the bottom of the page. I'll demonstrate all of this. We have payment calculators that actually pull all the numbers directly out of the listing itself. So you're working with real numbers as you're sitting there working through some different scenarios with your customer. And probably one of the greatest enhancements to professional search over the original Find, there's actually two. One is that you now have access to this on mobile devices. The old Find version doesn't really work well on mobile devices, but new professional search does. As long as you get to that link that's in your MLS, which I'll show you here in a moment. Once you click on that, it's built on what we call an adaptive technology, which all of our websites are now. So it recognizes the kind of device you're actually working on, and will resize and reshape the page based on that. So all the same tools that you have at your fingertips on your computer when you're working with professional search, you'll actually have on any mobile device as well. And the second thing is private listing data. In Find today, we don't have any private listing data. It's all just the public information that's available in there. And now with professional search, we've actually added in private listing data. And that's going to be for the MLS you're logged in through. So, for example, other agents outside of your MLS can't see your private listing data, and you can't see theirs when you're looking at theirs. So, for example, when you're in Atlanta, you're going to want to get to professional search probably from a local MLS so you can see the private data there, but you'll have to log in here to see New York private listing data in Find as well. Okay, so we talk a lot about this being a national tool, which it is, gives you access to all this great information, but we know that really what matters to most agents is how can I use this in my daily life? This is what's in my backyard, that's where my bread and butter is. And so one of the main things when we talk about professional search was originally designed to fulfill two things locally. Number one was to give you access to all the data. So we talked about before how there are certain, a lot of times, listings that may pop up in other places, whether it's because it's in a different MLS or because one of those limited service contracts guys has something set up. Any of those kinds of things can cause it to not be available to your MLS, but again, it's going to be available to you here. So you get the whole picture. It's also really handy because there are times where you may have a listing that's actually in more than one MLS. And we were talking about this earlier. I've actually seen it up here in the New York area a couple times where an agent actually had it in two different MLSs and actually had it at two different prices. Now, that happens once in a while. We see that actually a lot in the Atlanta area too because of the two MLSs. What'll happen is somebody will forget to make a price change in one because they use one as a primary. That's not that uncommon, but that also, because you have a full picture, can actually see what's really going on. We have had one or two, one specifically in this area that was over in Long Island. Last time I did some training there. We found a listing that was listed there locally as well as in an upstate New York, one of the smaller MLSs up there. And the interesting thing was there was a $65,000 difference between how it was listed on Long Island versus in that other MLS. But the thing is, the additional information that shows in here is going to show you all the historical changes that have happened in every MLS with that particular property. And you could actually see several price changes that took place in both MLSs at the same time. So they were purposely keeping that property priced $65,000 higher if you were in the other MLS.
Is that legal?
I don't believe it's illegal. Now, whether that code of ethics thing kind of kicks in,
I'm not sure it's
it's
smart.
not exactly smart or ethical,
Sounds illegal.
but yeah.
It's kind of illegal.
And by the way, we also know that a lot of our MLS staff also uses professional search to find stuff like that, because it does happen from time to time. But again, you being armed with that information, if it's a property that you have a client that's interested, wouldn't you want to know?
Right.
Also kind of maybe tell you to keep your eyes open in dealing with that other particular agent, or just kind of remind them they might want to fix one of the two prices. But in either case, again, it gives you a different set of tools, being able to see the whole picture of what's really going on. Now, that's one of the reasons why this is a very handy tool in your everyday life, looking stuff up. The other reason has to do with just giving you access to all this data in one place. Yes, you can get school information off the school sites, and you can go to your public sites and get a lot of the records information. You can go to your tax software to get that. You can get the MLS data out of the MLS. But the fact is, you have to go to all those different places to get all that data. The whole idea behind this is exactly that. Have it all in one place. You can jump in. It's fast and easy to search, and it gives you your results right there, and you know you're seeing the complete set of results. So those are the two main reasons that we designed this, and it's absolutely free. We provide it to our MLS partners, and in return, they provide us with sold data so we can make sure out on the Realtor.com side, consumers get attribution for both the seller and the buyer side of the deal, because we only get that through that sold data. Now that's what it does for us on a local level, but it's also a great tool on a national scale. We actually have a lot of agents that have, because y'all are creative bunch, have figured out how to monetize this. It wasn't designed for this, but like I said, you're creative. A great way to help your customers is with customers that are relocating. If they're coming into the market, it's great because you can research the neighborhoods where they're at now and the house they live in, the kind of schools the kids are going to get a better idea of what they're probably looking for when they get here. Kind of shortens up that get to know you time. If they're leaving the area, it's also extremely helpful because you can help them with their sale here, but you can also extend that search out to wherever they're going because you have access to all the same information. So if they're interested in a specific type of school, you can actually do that research for them and add an extra layer of service that those that didn't make it to class today don't know they have at their fingertips. So it's another great way to be able to do that. You can also search for agents in here. So you can see in a particular market who the performing agents are. And in doing so, you can also kind of build, if you don't already have a referral network there, it's a great way to reach out and start building that referral and maybe make a little referral money off the client you're helping to sell here, and you're helping them find somebody there, which hopefully is going to buy you some great testimonials when they're all done. So there's lots of great ways to be able to utilize this to get more out of it. Okay, so just a quick summary. We've got an exclusive property search tool that's for MLS members only, are members of professional search. See, I still want to call it fine too. You have to stop myself. Fully mobile responsive, so you can use it on just about anything. As long as you can get to your desktop for the MLS, you can click over and get into professional search. Of course, we have all of the for sale, sold, and off-market property information, 10 years of property sold history, and of course, we always have attribution to both the buyer and the seller side, so you can access all that information here as well. So, got all the listed properties, very fast search tool, all powered by Realtor.com. Ta-da! Let's go in and play. I'll show you what it looks like live. Okay, so let's log in. Hopefully you're all familiar with this screen. If not, we have some other classes we'd like you to attend. Once you're logged into the dashboard, right over here on the left-hand side in this column, the very last item is Access Find, which will eventually probably say Access Professional Search or Pro Search. But in either case, right now today, if I click on that, that's going to open up a new tab and it's going to take me into the existing Find tool. This is what it looks like today. Tomorrow afternoon, after we flip the switch, when you click that button, it's going to look like that. That's the new professional search. We call it the front door. So once you're here, one of the nicest things about Find that is carried over into professional search is its search capability. It works like a Google search. That's the cool thing. It's not like a lot of MLSs where you have to go fill in a bunch of fields or check a bunch of boxes or do any of that. Here, it's plain language. So I can jump right in here, and I'm looking for homes for sale. Now I'm going to use Jacksonville today because that's where I'm at currently as far as the MLS I'm logged in through, so that way I can show you all the features from a local level. But I'm looking for homes for sale in Jacksonville, Florida. I would like, 3 beds, 2 bath, in the 300K to 400K range.
That's interesting. That takes a lot of time.
Yep. Just type it in, and there you go. There's your results.
You get one character wrong in one of the MLS, you have to start all over again.
That's why I like this thing. It makes it really easy.
Absolutely.
Now, once you do that, there's my search in Jacksonville. Here's all the different fields that I filled in. And then it also creates these little guys. We call them breadcrumbs. So it always kind of tracks the items you've put in. So if you want to get rid of any, you can just check the little, or click on the little X and remove it. Anything you change will actually update everything in real time. So currently, with the criteria I have 856 properties, which is listed right there. So if I wanted to, I did do a for sale search, but I can also do a for rent. I have a whole bunch of different options in here for time frames if I just want to go back and search within a specific time frame. Or I can even put dates in. Maybe I'm looking for a sold property that actually sold between a certain date point. I can actually search that way as well. If I want to change price, I just put the numbers in. I can select from drop downs, or I can put the numbers in manually. There's my 3 bedrooms and baths. And then I did single family homes, but as I mentioned, I can add or replace any of those values simply by checking the box. And then if I really want to get picky, we have an area called More Filters. And so if I jump in here, it's actually going to take me to another screen that has all of the possible filters we can look for. So for example, I'm going to come back up to keyword search in just a moment. But let's say I want a 2-car garage, and what else do I want? Maybe a pool. So as soon as I click those, if you'll notice down here, it actually tells me in real time what my search results are. So now I'm down to 108 results. And I also want to make sure that I'm not getting any foreclosures. I don't want pendings or contingents, and I don't want new construction. So now I'm down to 42. If I want to do other searches, I can do that. I can also look for square footage, lot size, age of the home. If I want to look in a specific MLS, that's what the data sources are. So I can actually choose a specific MLS to search in if I want to. Otherwise, each listing will actually show me which MLSs are represented. So if there's more than one, I'll know that. I can search by days on market. And if I really want to get picky, these amenities up here in the little squares are just the most popular. So they kind of bring them to the top of the list. But I can click on more and really open it up and get very granular if I want to. And so that allows me to kind of pick and choose. Now, one thing you might notice that caught me off guard when I first was looking in here, if you go down, for example, down here in parking, it goes 1-car garage right to 3-car, Well, that's because they already have 2-car garage up here in the shortcuts. So if you're looking for something and it's missing down below, it's probably one of the shortcuts they have at the top. They just didn't duplicate it, that's all. And then each of these can actually be opened up even further. So it just depends on how granular you want to get. I'm already down to 42 properties. If I go much more, I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of result. Now, one thing I do want to show you is keyword. Now, this just got added back into the system about 2 weeks ago. One of the features for those that were old Find users is we had these things called power shortcuts, where you could put a letter and a colon in and search for certain things, like O colon for owner. You put an A colon in to search for a specific address. You could put in K colon to search for keywords, and we had several others to search for county and school and a whole bunch of other stuff. Most of those have gone away. There are a couple that we still use. One of them is going to be ownership search and the address, but those are really the only ones that we continue to use anymore. Now we actually have a box for keywords. Now the keywords are basically, what the system does is it's looking at remarks and it's also looking at features. So for example, if I were looking for a property with granite, I can type in the word granite and now it knocks it down to 10 results instantly. And when it's looking at this, it's simultaneously looking at feature fields and it's also looking at remarks, because some MLSs have a field for granite or granite countertops, some don't. Even those that do, half the agents still put it in the remarks, they don't actually check the field. So you never know. And in most MLSs, you'd have to do 2 different searches, because you can't search for a field and search remarks and have it not be in both in the same search. So you want to have to search 2 different ways. But within professional search, I can put it in once, and if it appears in either of those locations, I get the result. So that saves me an awful lot of time. Now, once I have all these, if I decided I want to change or get rid of any of these, I can also clear my search or my filters completely. It takes me all the way back and starts from scratch. But I'm going to go with my 10 results down here. Click on it, and now it's going to take me out here, and there's my 10 results. Everything's updating in real time the whole time.
That saves you a lot of time driving people around.
Yes, it does. That too. It can save you a lot of gas driving people around, especially when we get to the maps, when we get there. Now you'll notice all the things I just added are added as little breadcrumbs across the top. So as I go up, I decided, you know what, I'm not seeing what I wanted to see. For example, maybe my client decided, you know what, I'm willing to forego the pool because I want to look at some other areas, or I want a different style of house for the price. I can pull that off, and now it's going to update to now 110 properties. So again, everything updates and runs in real time. Now, I'm going to jump over and show you the map view. I'm going to come back to the search results page and we'll go into the individual results in just a moment. But for a quick second, we're going to jump over to mapping. I'm going to show you what everything looks like when we kind of flip over to the map site. So here's the Jacksonville area. You'll notice the properties are also still on the right side, so they're still listed. As I hover over any of the properties on the right, you'll notice their little numbers on the map will light up red so I can see exactly where I'm at. And I can actually scroll through all the properties here, and as I do that, I can bounce around and kind of see where everything's at. I can also go to any of the properties and click on it, and it's going to pull the listing up for me. Now, if I click on any of the photos on the right or on the photo on the map, that's going to actually open the property in the property details page for me, and I can go look at that information. Obviously, everything else on the map I can do. I can zoom in, I can move the map around. These are full Google Maps. I do have the ability to switch over to satellite mode. So if I want to see a satellite map, I can do that. I'm not going to do it here because I'm using my phone for Wi-Fi, and sometimes the picture maps take quite a while to download, so I'm not going to make you wait for that. But it's very easy to use. Over here on the left-hand side, here's all the new map stuff. So let me get this out of the way. And these are the overlays we were talking about earlier. So now with the properties here, I can go in and turn on the schools. Now you notice schools pop up all over. And there's a couple of things I want to show you. Now, first of all, my particular client doesn't want to see the private schools, and they're not really looking for elementary. They want to stick with middle schools and high schools because their kids are a little older. I also have the ability to go in here and say, you know what, I'm going to show them just the schools that are 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s that are a little higher, because that's what they're looking more specifically. They want to find an area with really good schools. Now, I apologize, I got a very touchy mouse that keeps zooming in on me just when I touch the little scroll wheel. But I want to move this down a little bit because I want to show you the difference between a couple versions of how the schools show up. Because when we're in Jacksonville, in the city, you'll notice when I hover over a school, it just turns green, but you don't see it, the school catchment area. And that's because most of the schools in Jacksonville, in the city, As long as you're anywhere in the city and you can take your kids, you can go to any school you want. It doesn't really have a catchment area there. But if we go to some of the schools that are just outside of the city, you'll notice when I hover over those, it's going to light up and show me the catchment area. Because all the schools outside of the city limits do have very specific districts. So if I wanted to, I could actually search by this. Any of the schools that I'm on, regardless of whether they have a catchment area or not, I can click on. It's going to provide information on the school. If I click the little blue link at the top, it'll actually open a new tab, and it'll take me to a page that's specific to that school. And it's going to provide me information on the school itself, the county that it sits in. It's also going to let me know what the Great Schools rating is. Right next to that, we have the parent rating. It tells me the overall number of students and the student-to-teacher ratio. And I've got two buttons down here that show me there's 198 homes for sale or 121 homes for rent within that catchment area. Now, that doesn't mean that those numbers meet the criteria of the search that I currently have in. If I click on either of those, what it's going to do is it's going to take me to a full list of either the rentals or the for sale properties within that catchment area, but it's going to remove all of the other search criteria that I have. So it just kind of resets my search and just shows me everything that's available in that particular area. And then of course on the map itself, it's going to show me information of the area, and then it shows me some of the homes that are also for sale in that same area. So that's the school information. Now let me close that tab and go back to our big map. The same is going to be true for any of the schools here as well. They all work the same way when it comes to school reports. Now we're also looking at eventually, we're not there yet, but we have things called deep links, where you can be on a listing in the MLS, and in that MLS we're going to add some additional links in there where you can click on a link that will take you to the property in professional search, or link you direct to a school report, which would be this page here, which is what we're just looking at. So if you're on a property and that's the school that belongs to that property, when you click the school link, it's going to take you to the school report. And we're also working on community or neighborhood pages where you can click the community information and it's going to take you to a community page for that particular property. Those are called deep links, and those are something that's coming down the road. They're not there yet. So right now, it's just the main link that you click. Let me bring it back up so I can talk about it. It's that main link we saw in the dashboard right here, the main front door link. But eventually those other links, and we'll make sure that you guys get notification when the new ones come out, where it's actually on the individual properties, the deep links. Because those are really cool once we have those set up. Okay, so that's the schools. We talked about the crime overlay. This is just a heat map just for informational purposes. We also have the lifestyle information. Again, these are the ones I mentioned were all driven by our good friends at Yelp. When you click on them, they pop up and give you all the Yelp information, and if you click the link, it'll actually open up a new tab and take you out to the Yelp reviews on that particular place, depending on which ones you happen to have turned on. And right below that, we also have the transit information. This, of course, again, is our Google information, so it's got live traffic. We also have public transit information, which for the most part you only see in the cities, but it depends on the city. This city has a lot of public transit information, meaning New York, not Jacksonville. Jacksonville, not so much. And then, of course, all the bike lanes, if that's important to your buyers or sellers, if they're looking for that. So that's kind of all the new mapping features. You guys have any questions about those? Over here on the right, all those breadcrumbs are always there. So as you're going through and doing your map search, if you want to flip to this side, you can still adjust anything within your search as well. The breadcrumbs are there, and also the drop downs are up at the top. So if you want to make adjustments on the fly, you can do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
In New York, a big thing here is air rents. Do you guys list that there? List that in here as well? No?
Not currently.
Air rights, you can get, I think Acris lists air rights.
Yeah, and Property Shark, but I wasn't sure if it's populated to you guys.
Yeah, because it's so specialized for just this area,
Okay.
and they're a nationwide.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Air rights is tough.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the mapping? Okay, let's go back to our list view then. The other nice thing that I really like about the new professional search is it's really hard to get lost because there's only 4 pages of information. Well, technically 5 if you include that first page where you do you start your search at. This is one of them, your list. The second one we saw, which was the more filters page. The third one we just saw, which is the maps. And then the fourth one is the actual individual listing itself. That's it. Those are the only 4 pages in here. So it's really easy to maneuver around, especially on a mobile device if you're trying to find stuff. So now I clicked on one of the properties, and now we're at the property detail page. Now when you're looking at the photos, the nice thing is we have a couple of different ways to view photos. You can actually, if you're on a phone, just swipe left and right, and it'll scroll through them. If you're on a computer, you can click left and right, and it's going to go through the photos. You also have the ability of clicking on the photo itself, and it'll open the whole gallery, and you can look at it on a larger scale as well. So we've got lots of different options there. Now the property itself, down here on the right-hand side, you can save this property for later, just by putting a little heart on it. And that's actually going to end up here under your name at the top, where you can save not only the properties, but actually you can save the searches too. I didn't show you the save search button. I'll show you that here in just a second. So that way I can save them and reuse them later. This was also something we used to be able to do in Find as well. Now right below that, if I want to add specific notes to a property, I can do that. These notes are going to be for just me. My client won't see it, nobody else will see it, it's just for myself. But that gets attached to my account, so if I have certain notes on this property I want to keep, I can do that. I can also share the property, so if I want to send this out to a client, basically put their name and their email address in there. We're not going to market to them. This is strictly for sharing the property. Now, the nice thing about this is when you share it from here, what's going to happen is we're going to send them a link to the exact same property on the Realtor.com on the public side, showing the public information. You want to be careful because there is an option in here to print this information. But when you print it, you're printing the page that includes all of your private agent detail. So you want to make sure that you're not printing or saving as a PDF and sending that to a customer. You want to make sure that stays for you, or that you redact that part of it. That's why usually sharing is a better option, especially in this electronic world we live in now anyway. But all those options are right there for you. If you want to check it out yourself, there's also a link right there. So if you want to see what it looks like on Realtor.com before you send it to them, you can do that. And then over here, there's that little commute time thing I was talking about. It's right there under the picture. So you put the address in of their work, and it's going to provide both on peak and non-peak commute times from this particular property to their work. And you can pick whether it's walking, bicycling, public transit, or driving. And then as we go down, we start seeing the property information. If there's any open houses coming up, you'll see it. You'll notice as soon as we get below the picture, we have a drop-down menu that also pops up. Now, on the detail page, everything is happening right on this one page. So it's basically a very long page of information. So this way you don't have to scroll down through everything. Whether you're on a mobile device or a computer, you can just click to the section you want to go to and it'll jump straight to it. Now there's some new information that's also been added. We've got property details here that's highlighted. For example, this particular property has been on the market for 4 days. It's a single family home built in '97. I can see a lot of this stuff very quickly. As we go down, something else that's happening with the system, this is a new feature we added both in professional search and on the public side because a lot of consumers really wanted the ability to kind of group a lot of the photos. And so regardless of what order these particular photos were entered into the system actually takes them and through machine learning and artificial intelligence will go through and take all of the bathroom pictures and the kitchen pictures and kind of group them up along with all the amenities as well. So that way you can kind of see them in a quick snapshot. As you go down a little further past that, this is all the public listing information. There's a listing agent, all their information and brokerage, including all their contact information. If you click any of the links, it takes you straight to their Realtor.com profile. Also another reason why it's important that you have all your profile stuff up to date. And then right below that, we've got all the private listing data. So again, as long as you are logged into your MLS and looking at one of your listings, you'll see all that private agent data in here as well. Everything from showing instructions to whether or not it's vacant, whether it's what the compensation setup is, everything else. As we get below that, we start getting into public records, a lot of the tax information. We get down into history. Here I can see all the previous listings. This house has been listed at least once or twice. I can also tell the middle there, it was a rental for a number of years, and they're all listed in Jacksonville. I'll be able to see if it was listed in any other MLSs. Something that's coming, it's not here yet. We are going to have the ability to go back and look at the full listing from the past. What's going to happen is you'll know when it's ready because all the MLS numbers are going to turn blue. and then there'll be live links. So you can actually go and look at the previous listings on the property if you want to. Right below that, we have property. What's that?
What did you say it turns blue when?
It's not enabled yet. We're not doing it yet. When we have that turned on, you'll know because there'll be blue links. So the MLS numbers will actually be blue, which tells you it's a live link. So when you see that happen, then you know at that point you can click on it. It's actually going to open up a page with that old listing information. Right now, all we have is the past, basically the history of when it was in and where it was in. We also have all the previous listing pictures. So if I want to go back and see the pictures on any of the previous listings, and some of them have them, some don't. These were all rentals. Let me go back to a sale. No, I didn't pick a good one. There we go. So as we go back and look at the history on this, it's going to have all the photos from the past as well.
If you hold, and like sometimes I have clients who require that we take all the pictures down, can we go into the system as someone in business and see those, or do they get wiped out from it?
They don't get wiped out. Because these are not in public view.
Okay, so
These
they
are in a
don't get
secured
wiped out.
system, so
Those
these
will
don't
be-
get wiped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can only be seen by MLS numbers, so that's access to this.
Yes.
We can get them taken off the public side if they request, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, we only show photos for the 6-month span that we showed as a recently sold. Once it goes into off-market status, we don't usually show pictures on the public side. They're only available in here for agents. So we have all that information in here, and then we start getting into more of the school information. Again, on an individual listing, I can click on the school itself. Well, these are nearby homes, I should say. Get to that first. And then I have the schools. And also I can see neighborhood around the property and see what else is for sale in the area. Then we have community info. And then down at the bottom, we also get into more of the detail on that payment calculator and some other homes in the area. So that's all the information that's available right there on that page. And at any point, again, I can go up to my little menu up here and go back to the top or jump to any other place I want to. And that's the listing details page. Pretty easy. Now let me click back here. If I click back, that takes me back out to my search results. And let's talk about a few other things we have available out here. Out here on the right-hand side, we have some new details, and this is another area that's going to kind of change over time because we are getting requests for some new features that maybe Find had that this one doesn't yet. And so as those new features come along or people have suggestions for new stuff, I want to show you how to give those to us. That's kind of going to be the area where a lot of this stuff's going to get added. Right now, we have some overall information that gives us things like the median listing price for this particular area. And it's going to scale based on whatever my search was. In this instance, I looked at all of Jacksonville, but I may have just looked up a zip code. And so in that same search box, even though I started with homes in Jacksonville, I could have gone homes in a zip code or homes in a neighborhood, or I could have put the school name in, or I could have typed an address in. You can pretty much put whatever you want in that box and it's going to deliver the result you asked for. That's why it's so nice and easy to use.
I like that.
Now I will say, when you put addresses in, you want to be careful with those. When you put an address in, make sure you only put the street number and the street name and maybe the city and state. Don't put north, south, east, west. Don't put street or circle or drive or any of those things. Only because how that was entered into the original public record varies so much, and if you're not asking for exactly the same thing, then you get no results. Whereas if you just put the number and the street in, typically you may get 3 or 4 results. One of them's going to be exactly what you're looking for. Most of the time it's only 1 or 2, unless it's on a street like Main Street or a numbered street where there's 2 versions. But still, it's going to narrow it down considerably. So that's one thing you want to be careful with the when you're doing those types of searches. I'm going to show you an owner search here in just a moment. But the other thing I wanted to mention while we're over here is you're also going to see an area, again, because I looked at a scale the size of Jacksonville, we're seeing a lot of popular options over here. For example, popular neighborhoods. Now, one of the questions usually comes up is, well, who decides what's popular? The nice thing about everything you see over here in that popular listing, that is driven by actual real-time searches on Realtor.com by the public. So those are popular neighborhoods because those are actively being searched by all the consumers out there. So it changes on a regular basis. It's wherever that demand is and where people are searching the most, that's what's going to come up in that list. Now, if I click over to it, what it's going to do is, again, it's going to basically negate the search that I'm in, and just run a new search and show me all the properties that are available within that neighborhood. So it kind of restarts and refreshes my search. But I can do that based on the neighborhoods. As you can see, I can do it by popular zip codes, cities, other areas nearby. And again, that's going to scale based on how large my initial search was. It just kind of self-adjusts. And there's my Save Search button that I mentioned before. Now, when you first log in, starting tomorrow, you go into your MLS and you go click the little link off to the left there. When it opens up the new system, the first time you go in, don't be surprised if you get a pop-up that's asking for an email address to create a new account. Okay? We're not going to market to it. It doesn't really matter what address you pick. We're not actually going to email or use it for email. What it's really doing is it's creating an account for you that we attach all your saved properties and saved searches and all that kind of stuff, all the features that are attached to an account. That's all it's doing, is asking for an email address for that. We don't use it for anything else in the system, okay? But the first time you go in, it may ask you for that. After that, it won't. I want your account's created, and that way it knows who you are every time you link over from the MLS. All right, so I mentioned a few minutes ago, we can also do an owner search. So if I want to start over, there's a couple of ways I can do that. I can go up here and just say clear filters, and that basically wipes everything clean, but it still leaves me in Jacksonville. If I want to go out to the very beginning, if I go up and just click on the Realtor.com logo, that's going to take me out to that first page that I started at, and I can start fresh here if I want to. Now I could go up to where it said Jacksonville and also exit out up there, but I like looking at the pretty page. We have some very humorous guys in product. Up until yesterday, that bottom picture was top 10 neighborhoods around Area 51 and had a bunch of flying saucers in the background, because that's been in the news lately. So every now and then there's some funny stuff out there. Okay, so I want to find an owner, and I want to see what properties that an owner may have. So what you want to do is start with the city and state first. I'm going to go ahead and leave Jacksonville there for now, but you can put any city and state in. Then I'm going to put a space and an O colon. And let's do Robert Johnson. So as soon as I have that, I just hit enter, and it's going to go out and think about it for a second and come back with any property. So I didn't have one that, oh, because I didn't spell Robert right. That would be a problem. There we go. Spelling, it's a wonderful thing. So now I'm looking at 40 properties in Jacksonville that are registered to a Robert Johnson. So if I wanted to do that research and I was looking for properties that was maybe owned specifically, I would have to kind of go a little further. I can see right here who the property is registered to. So it might be just Robert Johnson, or it could be Robert and his wife, or it could be an LLC. But I can kind of start my research at that point and go a little deeper if I want to. Now, I mentioned before, if there's ever anything that you see in here that you would like to be different, or that you would like to offer up some feedback on, we have this wonderful little feedback that sits right here at the top of the page, always there. I would highly encourage you to click on it and give us some feedback. It's anonymous feedback. There's a couple of easy, kind of click on the thing on the dots, the radio buttons, or here's what I was trying to do. So if you run into any problems, especially, then click the upper things and let us know kind of what you were trying to do when you got to that point, what the bug was, or if the information doesn't look accurate, whatever it may be, please let us know. If you have a recommendation, you can actually skip all that and just come down to the little box and just type in whatever you want. Now, if you found something that wasn't working right for you, sometimes we ask that if you don't mind, give us your email address in that box, because again, this is anonymous otherwise. But put your email address in the box too if you found something wrong, in case the programmers want to get back in touch with you and say what was your search, or what were you trying to do, so we can try and duplicate it and figure out why the system's getting up bad information. It's pretty rare, but it does happen every once in a while. But otherwise, if you have anything that you'd like to see different, please let us know. In fact, I would encourage you to click on that sucker every time you log in if you want to. The more feedback we get from you, when you click that submit button, it goes straight to the product team. All the managers see it. And this is what helps set their roadmap. The more requests they get for certain things, or if an issue is raised, then that goes to the top of the priority scale of exactly what needs to get taken care of next. They're actually doing updates on a weekly basis. Call them Sprites or Sprints, I can't remember which. But every Wednesday, they roll out any new features. So like I said, the keyword search was something that was part of the old find system, but wasn't originally in professional search. We had a lot of people asking for it. They wanted that. They also wanted the ownership search. So those are two things that have just been added over the last 30 days. And so they'll pop up usually on Wednesday afternoon because we've got new stuff ready to go. But again, I would highly recommend going in there and give us your feedback whenever you want to. Top of the page. Okay? Now, if you have any problems or have any other questions about things, we have our support link. It's right up there next to where your name is. So if you click support, that's also going to open up a new tab. And even our support page is pretty simple. It's one page. So on that page, we have 3 videos that kind of walk you through a lot of the information that I just covered. There's basically one for each of the main pages. How to do a search, how the map works, and what the property detail page looks like. If you want to join us for another webinar, we have probably 5 or 6 webinars a week that you can jump onto anytime you want. And down below, we also have FAQs, and last but not least, there is our support phone number and email address. So if you ever have any problems or any questions at all, you can always contact them directly as well, and they'll be happy to help you out. And with that, that's professional search in a nutshell. You guys have any questions? How to do a search, search results?
So when we search, if someone, you said it would show us, like, will it show us if someone's in more than one MLS? Like you said, it'll show us the person's name, the agent, but will it list actually the multiple different MLSs that they're involved in?
Yes, let me jump in here and let's change this. Oops. I'm going to jump over to Atlanta, Georgia because I know almost every listing in Atlanta is in 2 different MLSs. Okay. So typically it's going to show you right here what the data source is. Oops, it dropped me into it anyway. Let me go back.
If you were to enter my name, would my listings show up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact,
I have one right now, but I mean, you can show it if you want to.
okay. Let me see. That was one of the, I think it was one of the new filters that was supposed to show up in here. Let's see if it's here. Days on market. Not yet. So one of the new things they have coming is being able to actually search by the selling agent. And let's check and see if the shortcut works. AG : what's your name?
Paulette, P-A-U-L-E-T-T-E.
One more. UL?
P-A-U-L.
P-A-U-L-E-T-T.
Warner, W-A-R-N-E-R.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so they don't have that programmed up yet.
Okay.
So that's something, so it's going to be, I'm not sure if they're going to put AG : or SA : we'll find out as soon as they do. Or it's more than likely, rather than use a power shortcut, because it's just easier for people, it'll be a box that'll appear here. So you'll have a new box, just like we do with keywords. So you will be able to search by that selling agent and be able to pull up all their listings, both past and present.
When the public goes in now, they want to search by
Public
agent,
can't go in
does it
now.
bring up all the, but I'm not saying on professional, on
Okay.
regular realtor.com, if they go in and they look us up, will they see all the listings that are there?
They can't search that way on Realtor.com. However, if they search for you by name and go to your profile on Realtor.com, then on your profile, all your listings are there.
Oh,
But it's not, they can't go on Realtor.com itself in the property search area and search by agent.
search by agent, that's what I'm saying, they search by agent.
They can't do that.
Oh, okay, they'd have to go to my profile page, read the profile.
Yes.
This works the same on New York State MLS and MyState. When they go to your profile page, they can see all your listings there too. So usually that's how they can get there from profile pages.
And because your information is on every listing, if it's live, if they go to one of your listings, they can click your name and it takes them over to your profile. That's why it's crucial that your profiles are filled out. Because even if you haven't filled it out, they'll take them to a blank profile with nothing there except your property listings. But I want to actually have a picture of you or a nice background picture, which is what you want, because that's what generates leads. And they're free. We like free. Okay, you guys have any other questions? that's pretty much everything I have on professional search. Go forth and commit real estate.